Well, what did you think? Andy Bolton, I'll come to you first. What did you make of the seven-way debate? And in your view, who was the sort of the person who stood out the most?
I think Nigel Farage did. His delivery was clear. He was mainly, though, attacking the record of everybody else, rather than putting his own case forward. In the past, because I know Nigel, and in the past I've advised him, I've said to him, look, you really need to project a vision, solutions, and how you're going to deliver those solutions. But he doesn't do that. Nigel is an extremely good speaker. His rhetoric is outstanding, and he's very good at attacking other people's records, but not so good on actually saying, this is what I'm going to do. And when he does, it doesn't stand interrogation. So
I think he did say what he was going to do when it came to the NHS. He put forward a proposal and said that we should be like another country. I think it was the Netherlands, was it?
France.
It was France, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he did put that forward and actually, to be fair to him, that stood out because even though the Labour Party in West Streeting has said that he wants to reform the health service, Angela Rayner didn't say that. She was too busy discussing how much money or where we get the money from, and so they, even there. So I think that was an interesting moment.
There are a few things coming out of reform, don't get me wrong, but in general, the emphasis of their strategy is to criticise others rather than say what they would do.
And
ultimately, they're not going to have to deliver very much anyway because they're not going to be in power or the opposition. They will gain votes.
It'll be interesting because the manifestos are coming out and hopefully they'll have theirs as well and we can get some more detail on that. Right, Norman Baker.
Well, you didn't have a clip from Daisy Cooper on that short introduction.
No, we didn't, which is a shame, because I thought she did very well.
She did do very well, and actually, if you look at the polls, I know the polls aren't the result, but the polls suggest that the Lib Dems will do very well. In fact, some of the projections suggest that the Tories are in such chaos, the Lib Dems might be the opposition officially in Parliament. One of the projections showed the Lib Dems on 51 seats and the Tories on 24. So it's actually quite important what Lib Dems say. And actually, dare I say, Lib Dems are rather better opposition than the Tories are. We've had more practice at it over the years. So Daisy gave some very good answers on the NHS. The guy from the SNP actually was quite forthright on a number of issues, including migration, but also on Brexit. And actually, Brexit's hardly been mentioned. No party wants to talk about Brexit. The Labour Party doesn't want to talk about it because it doesn't want to lose a red wall seat. The Tories don't want to talk about it because they kind of invented it. Lib Dems ought to be talking about it, but aren't. But the SNP is.
I'm going to disagree, Norman, if I may.
Of course.
I think the reason they're not talking about it, the Conservatives aren't talking about it because they have failed to deliver on it.
That's right.
Labour's not talking about it because they want to integrate us further. And, I think the bulk of the British public aren't in either of those spaces.
No, I think that's probably right. But actually, this is a dishonest election in some ways because all these parties are promising not to put up taxation. They're also promising to improve public services enormously. Those two things don't add up together. I mean, the public sector is in a shambles. Look at the state of our roads and potholes. Look at the NHS. Look at the schools falling to bits. Look at the prisons, where there was a story on GB News last week of prisoners using plastic cutlery to get through walls. That's how shambolic the walls are in the prisons.
I mean, I thought that was a joke when I heard it.
It wasn't a joke, I'm afraid. It was actually true. And, so there's a lot of money needed to invest in the public services. Where's it coming from? Nobody's being honest about that.
Well, our taxes are going up and up and up, and I'm not seeing much improvement. So the question is, what are they spending it on? Because they can keep raising them, but if you spend it badly, then there's literally no point to it. But Sir Keir Starmer will launch the Labour manifesto this week with a cast-iron pledge not to put up income tax, national insurance or VAT. Now, the plan, which will be revealed by the party's leader and his shadow cabinet on Thursday, will include a triple lock vow that a Labour government will not raise the big three taxes for 5 years. But do you trust Labour's pledge on taxes? I mean, where are they going to get the money from? Norman Baker.
Well, I don't know where they're getting the money from. I mean, the Lib Dems have identified that there is £36 billion of money which could be accrued from tax avoidance and tax evasion, which ought to be brought in. The Tories are talking about dealing with excesses on benefits. Well, they've had a long time to sort that out, and we just discovered there's a problem there. So I don't really believe that. So there is money not being collected from very people who are very rich and should be paying their taxes properly. But even that's not necessarily enough to deal with the backlog of problems in the public sector. So I think they do have to look at taxes, and it's irresponsible actually to say you won't put up taxes in 5 years. Who knows what they're going to find? When they say the books, they may find there's a huge problem. They can't guarantee that. Where are they on defence? Are they committed to 2.5% or aren't they? These things aren't very clear. So we will have the manifestos this week. The Lib Dem one tomorrow, by the way. Labour one later in the week. I think the Tory one as well.
Well, I suppose the Labour Party would argue that they are going to have this commitment, but should unforeseen circumstances occur, then any one of those taxes might well go up. Henry Bolton.
Well, that's probably what they would say, yeah. Well, look, we'll have to see what their manifesto says. The Conservative Party has claimed that, and Penny Mordaunt claimed that the Labour Party was going to raise taxes by £2,000 over the next 5 years. Well, and that is based on their Conservative Party's analysis of what they think the Labour Party has pledged that it's going to deliver and what it would cost, and what sort of the differential is.
But the Labour Party have said that's just fictional.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see what their manifesto actually says and then have another look at it. But I agree with Norman. You know, there are things that need to be paid for, and we don't know what's coming. It is absolutely dishonest and disingenuous for any party to say we will not raise taxes in the next 5 years, because they, as Norman says, they may well have no choice. And, you know, to be quite honest, there are problems that need to be resolved before you can do a full sort of, you know, efficiency drive in the NHS or anywhere else, or education. What's going to happen in the meantime?
Well, they might also argue, because they're not in power at the moment, they are likely to be in power, but they're not in power, so they don't know the situation as it stands properly, because they haven't got their hands on the books.
So why make the
that was their argument that they used for not giving us the detail, and we wanted details. So now we've got details. Surely we should be thankful that they're giving us some guide as to what they're planning to do.
But I think it is a fiction, because they just don't know, and therefore... But their problem is, actually, the way that the media and the public expect them to respond, because they can't get a vote. They're not going to do very well if they tell everybody, we are putting up your taxes, particularly if they don't know why they're going to put up taxes. So they have no choice but to say, we're not going to put them up. That's the way we sort of interrogate them, and I think that needs to be sort of thought about.
Well, when the manifesto comes out this week, it'll be most interesting to see where they plan to get that money from.